The member for Capalaba.
Speaker, my father was also in the police force for over 37 years, and I'm also a victim of crime. And I cannot understand how two people who've had fathers in the police force and victims of crimes have two totally different points of view. But that aside, I rise to address the expanded adult crime and adult time and taking a strong stance on drugs and antisocial behaviour Amendment Bill 2026. The Christopher government is once again taking a firm action to bolster youth justice laws while those opposite continue tearing themselves apart on whether they'll support it and stand with Queenslanders. Too many people across the state know the impact that weak laws can have on their lives, as we saw youth criminals running wild during Labor's decade of decline. This bill acts on the advice of the expert legal panel and introduced further offences to adult crime, adult time laws. Adult crime, adult time is a policy which Queenslanders have backed wholeheartedly. We have even seen copycat legislation by Labor state governments elsewhere, which proves that these laws are a step in the right direction. In keeping with our promise to strengthen and never weaken these laws, the new offences being added include domestic and sexual violence crimes, riot, assault occasioning bodily harm, and conspiring to murder. These are serious offences and need to be treated with the appropriate consequences in our justice system. We're also introducing new drug enforcement and diversion framework, which will ensure that offenders are held accountable while providing diversionary pathways for eligible individuals. Additionally, this bill will give our hard-working police new powers to maintain public order in busy public areas across the state. These are areas where the effects of antisocial behaviour are amplified, and even low-level disruptions can lead to massive detrimental impacts on patrons and businesses alike. As a member of the Justice, Integrity and Community Safety Committee, I had the opportunity to examine this bill closely. We heard from a range of stakeholders across the legal profession, local councils, victim organisations and those working directly within the justice system. After that process, the committee chair tabled a report which recommended the bill be passed. But Speaker, we know that many Queenslanders probably aren't paying close attention to the committee reports. They are watching what is happening in their own communities and forming a view from that. During Labor's decade of decline, that view was not a positive one. We saw repeat offending becoming more visible. We saw offences continue to occur without any consequences being applied. That level of offending was unacceptable, and Queenslanders made their voice heard loud and clear in the October 24 election. We also readily acknowledge that there was a long way to go in turning the tide on this crisis, and that the levels of offending are still not acceptable to the Christopher government or to the people of this state. This bill sits within the border context. It is not a standalone reform and is not intended to be. The initial reform set that direction. Further tranches of adult crime, adult time, and reinforced it. This bill continues that work. The Christopher government has made a comprehensive approach to the youth crime crisis, also delivering a range of measures addressing offending early on, applying genuine consequences when offences occur, and implemented effective rehabilitation programs as well. All of these are working to make Queensland safer. Too often in this space, our government makes a change, declares the issue addressed and moves on. We have seen victims of crime treated as an afterthought or ignored entirely, and the rights of offenders being placed ahead of theirs. This is not what happens here. The Christopher government made a commitment to stand with victims, and we are doing just that. And I know what it's like to be ignored as a victim of crime, and I'll continue to fight for the victims every day I'm in this place. Speaker, I alluded to it earlier that the bill also revisits the former Labor government's soft touch approach to drug offending. The current diversion regime for small quantities of illicit drug possession is ineffective and skirts far too close to giving the impression that drug possession is acceptable. Let me be clear, it is not acceptable and there's no safe way to take drugs. However, there remains an opportunity for minor first encounters with the system to be dealt with in a way that diverts from further offending. This is appropriate and can be effective when done properly, but where behaviour is repeated, the response cannot remain static. A sensible new diversion program framework will strike a balance between diverting offenders and with small quantities of illicit drugs as a first offence, while maintaining that illicit drug possession will not be tolerated and allowing police to enforce consequences as necessary. Also within the amendments, there are changes to strengthen police powers in designated areas where antisocial behaviour is more concentrated, with the establishment of new designated business and community precincts. That reflects on what officers are dealing with in practice. Laws only operate effectively if they can be applied in real conditions. These provisions support our police by giving them the powers to act quickly in environments where small issues can escalate into something which impacts a large amount of public. We've heard during the committee hearings that antisocial behaviour of a small few people can create a no-go zone in central business districts. Often when police issue move-on orders to people causing trouble, they return the next day and start all over again. Coppers have had enough. Councils have had enough. Business owners have had enough. Everyone has had enough. Things need to change. These laws also tie with Jack's Law framework, which was made permanent by the Christodoulou government by providing police officers with powers to conduct wanting searches in designated precincts without prior approval of a senior officer. This removes another impediment to quick and preventive action, which can make a huge difference when tackling disorderly activities. We're also expanding police banning notice powers, which are already in place for individuals who police may prohibit from entering or remaining in licensed venues, events and safe night precincts. The banning powers will further increase police officers' ability to do their job proactively and address public disturbances. Speaker, in my community of Capalaba, the issue of youth crime has been front of mind of many of my constituents. One of whom I've spoken to at length, Chris Sanders, was nearly killed in a random attack just down the road from my office in December 2023. He felt completely ignored by the former Labor government after the incident occurred. I know exactly how he feels. He certainly didn't feel that the now former local MP took this issue seriously, especially after hearing youth crime being called a media beat-up. And I still share that same feeling. This constituent has supported each strengthening of the youth justice laws we have passed, and they support this bill too. It is a huge ask, or even a novel concept, for governments to put the rights of victims ahead of offenders, yet that was lacking for a decade under those opposite. Queenslanders have rightly demanded action for this issue for years on the side of the House. We are absolutely committed to restoring safety where you live. This bill contributes to that shift. It strengthens connection between behaviour and consequences in a way that becomes visible. That visibility is what rebuilds confidence in our justice system actually works for victims of crime. I'm confident that this continues to move us in the right direction. Speaker, these laws represent government acting with a clear mission. We are determined to ensure that fewer Queenslanders become victims of crime and that consequences for actions are restored. I got to this place for that very reason, and I know that the Christodoulou government will never take a backward step in standing on the side of victims. Thank you.